Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Your favorite podcast is Critical Blast.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish. They're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to That Silverline Show on Tuesday. I am your host, Tim TK, joined as always by Mr. Quentin Bedwell. Quentin, how are you, sir?
What's up? Doing well.
Good. Well, we got a fun little show for you today. We may be joined later on by Mr. Tommy Flormonti. He said he was going to show up, but he hasn't checked his Facebook messages in the last 15 minutes. We will see if he does. And we are going to be talking about some fun stuff today. They're talking about collectibles, something we're both very well acquainted with, as well as some new technology, some new entries in the collectible sphere and how that's already being implemented. It's going to be coming at you later tonight. But until then, we do have some housekeeping to do. First things first. Quentin, for the people who may be new to us, who are you and where can they find you?
Quentin Bedwell. I am currently on Facebook and other social medias, Instagram, DeviantArt. You can just look up Quentin Bedwell or Quentin J. Bedwell, QJB, any of those. Also, I am working on some stuff for Silverline, working on the third book of Trumps, working on the Christmas special, and let's see, going to be doing some future projects. One of them's called Night Rise. You can go over and like the page. What else? And just personal stuff, commissions, and all that kind of stuff. All full up.
Sure thing. Sounds good. And I am Tim TK, associate editor at Silverline and writer and creator of the upcoming series Wolf Hunter, and which is also going to be featured in our Christmas special. You may or may not be seeing some panels from that tonight. And we also writer, co-creator, something that's new and entirely unannounced, and you have to keep your ears to the fore. So the first bit of housekeeping actually has to do with that Christmas special right now. You can go to silverlinecomics.com, where today I have posted in our weekly newsletter the links to the Kickstarter and Indiegogo. You can go ahead and pre-save the link, so that way when pre-orders go live, you can get right on that. The idea is that if we get those out now, get those issues in your stockings while your tree is still up. We don't want to push those out too late. Everyone has horror stories about ordering stuff from Kickstarter and it ends up coming like 2 years later. So far, we are 14 for 14, something like that, in terms of timely arrivals. And
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because this stuff, unlike certain things like action figures and stuff like that, I mean, this stuff's not coming from China. It's not having to be. It's not caught up in the whole container debacle that's going on.
That's
over
not
there.
stuck in the Suez.
Yeah. So, so this is coming. Whenever we kickstart stuff, it is pretty much done, and
comes out. It comes directly from our hands to the printers of Tommy Flormonti. He packages them, gives them a little kiss, and then sends them off to you.
little kiss.
Little kiss, yeah. Did you hear that a second ship got stuck in the Suez this year?
Oh, I did not hear that. No.
Yeah. We had 2 ships get stuck in the Suez. This one wasn't as long; it was only like a half day, but still, it's.
Well, what I was referring to was, some of these people who kickstarted like action figures and stuff. The one particular that I'm thinking about is Valaverse. It's a 6-inch line of military figures. Action Force. I think I've talked about it before, but they kickstarted that thing in 2020 and the beginning of 2020, I believe it was, and then the pandemic hit, and so there was that, and then they shut the factories down and all that stuff. So now they got them up and they got all the figures done over this span of time. And now the container crisis over there has happened. So they're in the port, waiting to get here. So every possible delay you could think of has happened. But the guy's been really, really good, Bobby Vela, and he's getting, he's been doing comic books for people while they wait and all kinds of stuff. It's really, really neat, but I feel real bad for him.
Yeah, it's really kind of the worst situation there, where everything out of your control happens to go wrong at once.
Yeah, interesting time to be trying to, do stuff right now. As far as the comics go, though, I mean, there's not a real big issue with that. So
no, we're pretty good about that. And the second bit of housekeeping there, also Kickstarter related. If you did fund the collected edition of Kalis, those surveys from Kickstarter are in your email inbox now. So go ahead, get those answered. If that way you get your name in the book and everything like that, or make sure you get the right perks for your incentive level. Last a little bit of housekeeping, I think. No, we don't have any. We've already gone through our shows. I don't think we have anyone making any appearances in the near future. We've had a little bit of a convention season, which has been good, getting back out to it. But I think we're just all done. I haven't seen anyone post anything. Making any appearances anywhere besides, Walmart and maybe Outback Steakhouse?
Nope, that's about it. And to my kids' school to pick them up. That's about it.
Yep.
Yeah, there's not really. Everything over here is so far apart. I'm over in Texas, by the way. If you live in Texas, you know what I'm talking about. And I live in West Texas. So if I'm going to go to Dallas, it's 4 hours. If I'm going to go to Houston, it's 6 hours. If I'm going to go to Austin, it's 4 hours. Uh, Abilene is 2.5 hours.
Jeez.
It's pretty crazy. So I get to them when I can, but you know, that's the closest that I've come to any of them. Is about 4 hours away.
Wow.
So.
That, yeah, we have it good up here. In Salem. It's Portland's an hour one way. The coast is an hour another way. Mount Hood for snowboarding and skiing is about an hour and a half. Got the dunes and Bend out about another 2 hours, different direction.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Roland. He's at them all the time, man. It makes me want to. I'm from Mississippi, so I know what the heat situation is over there.
Yeah.
And see, Texas is hot, especially West Texas. I'm kind of in the desert, but there's a difference. It's a dry heat.
Yeah, you're not.
I mean, you get out in this stuff and you start doing stuff, it feels like your lungs are like rice paper. If you overexert, and it feels like they're just gonna burn out of your chest. Whenever you are in Mississippi or Florida, the humidity, Louisiana as well. I mean, you go outside, if it's hot, you just sweat, sweat, and of course the mosquitoes.
Yep. Yeah. When I was in Florida, I skateboarded everywhere, so it was kind of nice because it's kind of like water cooling, but for myself. So like you just immediately start sweating, but if you build up enough velocity and just kind of weave around cars, so you don't need to stop. You're just wicking that moisture off is great.
I like the cold way too much. Way too much. I don't even know why I'm in Texas because I love the cold. If it wasn't, for this job, me being over here, oh my goodness.
You might be a Montana boy.
Yeah. Yep.
It is hoodie season up here finally, so I'm enjoying that.
Or the Dakotas.
Yeah.
Over in the Dakotas.
Actually, I wouldn't mind living in Colorado. Colorado would be dope.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, it's we've officially reached fall, and that the sun has not shown in 4 days, and the temperature has not got above 70, and I've had a pumpkin spice every day since the start of the month.
Woo!
Yes.
Well, it's cooling off here, but it is still, up in the 80s, and but man, let me say that when it's hot here, it's usually about triple digits.
Oof. Yeah.
Quite a bit of the time. So, 80s is not terrible. But honestly, when you get up to about 85, 86, for me, it doesn't matter after that.
It all kind of feels the same. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah. Is there anything below like 45, anything above like 85, it all kind of melts together, and that it's just not pleasant.
Yep.
Yep. Well, we have killed about 15 minutes waiting for Tommy, so we're going to get into our normal banter. So for this week, Quentin, have you read, watched, played, enjoyed anything?
Actually, I have. This week, I've done a few things. I played Call of Duty with my son. I have not played that game in forever. And I was trying to kind of curb his Minecraft thing because he's always talking about Minecraft. And I mean, it's getting to where I pick him up at school and he's telling me recipes for stuff. And, I'm like, man, I need to get him to play a different game. So I hooked up the old PS4 and we played a little bit of that. His sister got in on it. She enjoyed it. We had a real good time. Then we played, then we watched this week Back to the Future.
Nice.
He's never seen it. I introduced it to him, and man, they loved it. They loved it. And I haven't seen that movie in so many years. I'd honestly forgot a lot of it, and I didn't realize just how much I'd forgot. And and you go back and watch a movie like that, you really go into it like with a totally different. I mean, you pick out a lot of stuff that you didn't see before.
Yeah.
And that movie was pretty quick. I mean, it seems like it went along pretty fast.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I would say go back and watch that if you haven't in a while. But that's about it.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else. I think that's about it.
Okay.
I'll probably think of something later.
Yeah, that's usually the way it works.
Mhm.
Yeah, for me, it's been mostly Destiny 2. Did start watching some of the stuff offered up on Warhammer Plus. So watched the first episode of Hammer and Bolter, and that was really good. It is a little weird that they don't have like, on Netflix or Hulu, when you pause something, it'll give you like the credits or whatever, and you can like get like a general description, like see who worked on something.
Yeah.
Warhammer Plus, they don't have any of that, so you can't really see who voiced who or who is the animators or anything like that. So I know it's so weird. I think Games Workshop has had some weird stuff recently with not giving creators too much credit, so I think they should probably remedy that. But that was good. I am interested to see how they schedule adding new content, since it is a little bare bones, but also it is the first couple steps out. But it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. I'm mostly just holding on until they send me my free mini for keeping my subscription active for a year, and then if the content is still good, it might stay on. If not, I'll probably bounce. But that is going to lead us into our topic of discussion. Speaking of free stuff, everyone who has ever been to a convention anywhere for anything, even like trade shows, is probably familiar with the swag bag, the little thing of whatever you get when you walk in the door. Yeah. If you don't know the origins of the term swag, before it was used to define a type of apparel, it meant stuff we all get. So, yeah, maybe a little more profane.
Yeah.
But if you ever, it's the little bag you'd get would have like maybe like your lanyard for your pass, and you think like some custom pencils, or some conventions even did like the little like 3x5 collector flashes. But now in comics news, DC, for their fandom event, which is in 10 days. For those of you unfamiliar with DC fandom, it is a free online 1-day online digital presentation. They try to make it sound like a convention, but it's a 4-hour presentation about what they have in the works.
So that's what it is.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, so it's gonna be so it's a free event. It's 4 hours long. It's gonna be Saturday 10 a.m. Saturday 16th 10 a.m. Pacific time. And they're just going to go over what they have in their works for the year, what major events they have, new movies and stuff coming out. It's kind of their, so they're replacing the swag bag for this event, which makes sense, given that it's a digital event. So other than air mailing people swag,
Right.
if you register for this event, you get a free NFT, and when you post about it on your social, you can get a second free NFT. We talked about NFTs on Wednesday's show and Sundays a while ago. But they're the new hotness in... No, not really hot. They're mostly seen by like crypto dudes and some businesses trying to reduce either costs, emissions, material, all of the above.
And protection.
Yeah.
Of your work or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, someone could just kind of copy it and resell it and sort of thing. But it's essentially it works out the same function as a blockchain in that it is a unique token you're given that goes to a blockchain house, and when not necessarily redeemed, because you don't like turn the token in and it's done, you keep that token forever. But when presented at that blockchain, you then get the version of the digital collectible, which is encoded in such a way that it's supposed to be unique. So in the in the microtext, nothing ends the same 001. The meta text is different from each of them. So goes the idea, and they are presenting alternative covers or unique covers as NFTs. So I have not gotten mine yet, but I have registered for DC Fandom. But they are supposed to be releasing starting today. So we'll see how the rollout goes.
Yeah.
But essentially, if registering for a free event, you're going to get a thing in your email saying redeem this token at this blockchain house website, whatever. And when you do so, you get a downloadable file that has a alternative cover. I think, yeah. So in terms of, I'm just going to give kind of my initial thoughts and open up to, and then I'll grab Quentin's here. But I think, in my perspective, this kind of makes more sense rather than the auction house idea that was kind of originally being lobbied about, where it was done like an actual, collectible, where you'd have these NFT auctions, and then the winner would get the singular token for the NFT that then they could copy paste and redistribute at will. But in terms of, it's a way of encoding kind of a unique gift or swag item for a singular targeted individual. So that way it's not getting they'll probably get mass distributed. We're just gonna put that out there, but as most collectibles do, they eventually do see the auction house or eBay at some point. But this is kind of the original step where if you're just trying to give people a random thing when they enter in, like a random trading card or whatever, that isn't, you're not selling as being, gold-plated bullion. You're saying it's a tradable cover. There's going to be like, we don't know how many of these covers there are going to be yet. But the idea of essentially you're handing out digital art books or art images, which has already been a thing for a little bit. If you buy a collector's edition of a game, you might get the digital art book, but doing that through a way that makes it feel a little more unique.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of get the reasoning there, especially for like a digital only event. I'm not sure I'd see this, flying if it was a physical event. I think people would want the physical swag bag or like the physical collectible, but
yeah,
I think it does do it is a little something to add some extra value to a free online event. So I kind of get it in this context more than I would if it was, the one NFT that sold for like $92,000 recently.
Man.
But it was his own unique art, and he sold it for just enough to like cover student loans. So good for that guy. But what are your thoughts?
The non-fungible tokens, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. It's like I think I know what it is, and then after I start talking about it and trying to explain it, I get lost.
Right.
It's kind of weird. I'll be glad when I see more of them so that I can get a little bit, that's the way I am with stuff.
Mhm.
Sometimes I just have to get my hands on things before I really understand it. But as for right now, I'm not real crazy about NFTs just because I don't really, I'm sure when I do finally, really figure out what they're good for and the application of it all,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll be excited about it. I'll be like, oh yeah, all right, yeah, I need to get those. know?
Yeah.
But as for right now, I'm just kind of I don't really care for them at the moment, but they're not really relevant to me at the moment. So
Sure, yeah. And I'll get more into that in a second. But I always thought that, always thought in the 6 months they've been a thing, it's kind of like an RFID chip. If you've worked in or been to a facility where you had to have like the RFID chip and like in your little laminate badge or whatever to get into buildings or whatever, where you'd have the main system, and they'd have in that system programmed your profile with your privileges, like what you can and can't access, or what is or isn't yours, and then they code that to an RFID signal, which then they put that chip in your laminate badge. So the token itself is the RFID tag. So essentially, you're getting a code that when you access it, it gives you, whatever your privileges are. In this case, it'd be the unique covers, and the covers are encoded in such a way, and that the meta tag, the meta information on there says that this cover is property of Quentin Bedwell.
right.
So if someone were to go in and like observe the covers code and say, this is your property. And then if I were to do the same thing and say, this is property of Tim TK. So it's a way of making a digital item feel more unique, because you can only, they say they're only going to do so many of those, and only so many of them get encoded that way. Everything else just becomes a generic copy, essentially.
Well, I don't know if I'm right about this, but my other impression of it was too that if that image shows up anywhere too, like people can't like you'll know where the image is. Is that correct as well, or
I
you'll
believe
get image tracking?
Yeah, I think there. Well, yeah, because I know there already is, thanks to New Millennium copyright law.
Because I know DeviantArt's got this new thing that they're doing.
Yeah, so because there is ways of tracking the meta tag wherever it shows up on the internet. So whenever you see that same meta tag pop up, I believe the blockchain house that issues that will will get reported back like, hey, this meta tag, it showed up outside of, it wasn't in the locker it's previewed in. So
well, for anybody, see, that's what's interesting about it to me, because that way, if that is the case, then that would be a way that you could get credited for your work, even if somebody tries to Photoshop out, parts of it.
Yeah.
I've actually had that happen to me before on a few occasions, where I had a piece of artwork that I put online. I think it was on MySpace or Facebook. It's been a long time ago, obviously. But anyway, and this is just the one that I'm aware of. There's actually two of them, but one of them, I went to join a site, and I don't even know what it is now, so obviously it didn't make it, but it was an art site, kind of like DeviantArt. And on the first page was my art, something that I had done, and it had like a filter ran on it. And this guy was taking credit for it. He had all kinds of likes on it. And I was a little flattered at first. And then I was like, hey, this dude is actually selling these. And anyway, I just I didn't make a big deal about it. I did email the site people, and I was like, I was going to join your art site, but the first page had a piece of my artwork on here already being sold, and it's not me. So I don't know what y'all do about this, but you need to be aware of it. And I started looking through the guy's other artwork, and you can tell with somebody's style. Their style is like their handwriting.
Yeah.
And all of his stuff looked like different styles.
Just a Jim Lee print in there.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
so. They ended up shutting him down.
Good.
And so see that another instance is I did one day I'll show it, but I did a picture of Dr. Fate, and I think I may have mentioned this before. And this was a long time ago when they first started doing X-Men. It was in, I say when they first started doing X-Men. It was 2008, something like that. I had done one like a realistic Dr. Fate, and I was real proud of it. It wasn't the best, and now when I look at it, I kind of cringe. But I was doing like painting, like doing the painterly type style, and I was experimenting with a bunch of different programs. We talked about, when I first discovered the Wacom tablet, and and I was getting better with it. And anyway, I had done this, and I had put it on MySpace, and to this day, if you will go and Google that image and go to reverse image search, there's just pages and pages and pages of this piece of art that has gone all the way around the world, been used on all kinds of sites. Because you can, click on the image and see who's using it. And it's in Russia, it's in China, it's in Korea. My name is photoshopped out. Sometimes it's not. And nobody even knows who I am. I've never even heard anything about it. But that version of Dr. Fate has infiltrated. And I know I'm not one of these guys that, hey, I invented the wheel.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I have seen versions of it or derivatives of it ever since. And of course, somebody was bound to do it eventually. With every character, they're bound to evolve into it. But I just picked this up. This is a Todd McFarlane multiverse Dr. Fate. And I don't have the picture to show you right now, but this is very, very reminiscent of what I drew. Now, this is from Injustice, but I'm just saying it is a derivative of some work that I had done. But anyway, that's the one thing about NFTs that I'm interested in.
Yeah, I think that would be. I said this in the Wednesday show when this first came up. I think, the way NFTs should be looked at, is maybe as a way for for bigger companies or whatever that don't necessarily need to worry about copyright protection to just kind of hand out, trading cards or kind of whatever. If something is okay with just being like a small digital whatever, it's kind of a fun way of doing a digital whatever.
Yeah.
But for smaller artists who may rely on, those digital auction houses or digital print sales as like their source of income, it provides a really nice way of doing like an extra layer of insurance on your intellectual property and your trademark there, because like the amount of small artists who get ripped off is absurd.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that was me, because I was told, hey, if you want to get your artwork seen, you need to put it online, and so I did. And I did not, I guess, just naivety. And now I don't put anything online that, I post some stuff online, but I don't put anything online that I don't mind parting with.
Exactly. I've had a few people say that the only things they post are like very like general portfolio pieces.
Yeah. No original concepts. If I can help it, unless I just don't mind people seeing it, The
only other thing they'd post is commissions, if they have the commissioner's permission to do so, because they have like a written contract stating the origin of that work that they can use to back up where that came from. But with like an NFT, you're going to have that information essentially hard coded into the image itself. So in case, you see your art on some website in Russia, you can then go to the website, press a copyright claim and say like, unless they can show you the token, that's not theirs.
See, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know Deviant, they've got some kind of background thing going now. What do you call them? Algorithm.
Yeah.
That it spots, like if something's in your gallery at DeviantArt and it finds it anywhere online, then it'll notify you, hey, this is over here and over
That's
there.
awesome. Yeah.
And I think that's cool, but I don't really put much on, unless it is like, for instance, I put a picture, some picture like fan art on there.
Hmm.
But like my game that I did, Relic Quest, I did not upload anything to it until it was published.
Yeah.
Then I started putting some samples of it on DeviantArt, but I would not have put samples on there before I was finished.
Right.
Get what I'm saying? Because somebody else could have took it. That's one of the reasons why I did the game anyway, is so nobody else would, take the idea before I could do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that has been our little bit on NFTs. Yeah, I don't think we have they've reached. I think they're at the point in their lifespan where they're still settling into what exactly they are, what they do.
I think a lot of people are like me. I think they're just a little, they're not 100% clear. I mean, they kind of have an idea what it is, but they're not 100% clear. And it's going to be one of those things where I should have got in early on the ground floor, and and I'll be kicking myself later.
Should have bought Bitcoin and it was 67 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's I mean, I think for anything like this, it's going there's growing interest in it, which I think is a good sign for its lifespan. Whether that's a good sign for the industry, who knows?
Yeah.
But it's going to take a while for it to find its niche and where it settles in. We know for digital comics in general, that took a while for them to find their niche, because then if you remember those weird Marvel image, the moving image comics, those were kind of trippy.
Yeah.
Not exactly super great. And everyone's just like, no, I just want a comic I can read on my phone. And then they're like, well, if we just did panel by panel. Yes, great, thank you. So it's probably going to take it maybe another couple of years or so to really settle into, having a clear idea that when you think of an NFT, this is what it is.
It's so hard to tell, talking about, kicking yourself later. It is so hard to tell, man. There's so many shysters out there trying to get you to buy something, because the more people they can get to buy it, the more worth something it is.
Yep.
And it may come to nothing, and you invest in it and lose money. And, there's just so many snakes out there. It's hard to tell what's going to pick up and take off.
I think you just described a stock market.
Right. That's exactly right. I mean, there's so many people who, they're fast talkers, and they have no intention of, even if you do make money, they have no intention of giving you your money.
Exactly.
You just have to be so careful. You have to be so careful, and it's hard to know who to trust. And then, of course, later you come back and so playing it safe is not always good, but it works for me a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So.
That's play it safe in most ways, but when it comes to just some creative stuff, have your moments where you just go balls to the wall. Just
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like going to a car lot. Man, it's so hilarious. Yeah. If I get a car salesman, and if I get a car salesman, he comes out and he's talking really fast, and he's got all these little sayings, oh, this is the most truck for your buck, and we'll bat a seal for a better deal, and all this, all this stuff. I just nah, we'll talk to you later. I just move on. I don't go for that.
Yep. Speaking of someone who's worked in finance, get yourself pre-approved at a different credit union. Chances are your rate's going to be lower.
That's right.
And you can walk in, just hand them a check, grab your car, say you don't want any additional packages.
that was a lesson that we learned is don't let them do the financing for you, because they'll feed you all kinds of crazy stuff. They'll go away and they'll come back, well, we just can't do it for less than this and less than that. And until you should not ever go car shopping or any of that kind of stuff until you're willing to get up and walk out and say no. Just what you need to do is have you a loan approved well beforehand, because that's how they get you.
Yep.
It's people trying to make a living. They're trying to make a buck, and you can't blame them. Everybody's got to eat. And everybody, of course, not just they don't just want to eat, but who wouldn't like to have a little bit of a bigger check if they could get it. So. I don't disparage capitalism. So,
all right. So that has been our rant on NFTs and the used car market.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but talking about collectibles in general, though, since that is kind of what NFTs are looking to maybe become a part of the ecosystem of, we're both collectors of sorts. Perhaps you may have the more impressive collection, though.
No way.
Yes,
it's a problem. I'm a hoarder.
Yeah. So before we get into to more of the physical part of that, what are your thoughts on digital collectibles? Maybe not NFTs, but kind of stuff that maybe have already existed for a little bit, like the digital art books or the free wallpaper when you buy the collector's edition. Just kind of the weird things that may have already existed in some aspect or not.
I might disappoint you, but I have always been anti-digital collections. And the reason why is because some of the fine print rules that is in stuff a lot of times. For instance, I was going to start playing Magic Online at one time.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard of people getting banned, and they pretty much were getting banned away from their collection.
Yeah.
And I just, that's theft to me. I don't know how it is now, but I know a few years ago that's the way it was, and they may have changed that. I'm not sure, but I have hated to see some stuff go digital because I'm just wary of it. For instance, and I just play it safe, but I just started using cloud. I did not trust the cloud for a long time. Cloud anything, but with the phones and the pictures and stuff, I have my photos backed up on Amazon Photos. I just recently started doing. I have external hard drives for my artwork, so I have my artwork in 3 different places. 2 computers, and on the hard drives, and some on USB. I just started using OneDrive. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
It's really good, really, really, really good. But I hated to see games go so digital. To where you couldn't, like, you buy a disc and the game is not even on the disc.
Yeah, you buy it, you get a box with a code in it.
And mainly because I really actually prefer the sticks, and there's not good internet out there. If you get a satellite internet, which I'm not out in the sticks now, I'm not in the woods. I'm actually living in a more urban area. Neighborhood, we get really great internet. But one day I hope to end up in, I'm hoping that the technology or the infrastructure will move forward enough to where people out kind of in the outskirts can have decent internet.
Yeah.
Without, I tried the whole satellite thing, and man, that was just talk about a ruse. That whole thing. I don't know. So I'm slowly getting into the digital thing. I just, it's so perishable to me. I like physical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and yes, my house could burn and I could lose it all.
Right.
But it's for instance, I like to have it where I have access to it. For instance, today I was working, and I mean I was just shucking the corn, getting stuff turned out, and then I get a knock on the door, and I go see who it is, and it is the electric company, and the guy told me, hey, we're fixing to change out this transformer out here, and the electricity is going to be down for the next 30 minutes to an hour. So if there's, is there anything that we can do for you to kind of make this easy? How long will it take you to, and I was like, how long will it take you to start? And they said about 15 minutes. And I told them, well, I could have my stuff saved and I can clock out and all that stuff in that time. So y'all just go ahead and start whenever. And he was real nice, real good. But for that hour that it was off, I had no access to anything.
Yeah.
Except pen and paper, and that would be in the dark unless I went outside.
You don't have a plethora of scented candles?
Yeah. No, I don't have a generator in the back. I'm not really a prepper. So I don't have a generator, any of that kind of stuff. It'd been nice.
Yeah.
But no electricity means no internet, which I do have my phone, and I'm able to use data. So that was good. But it's just I don't like to be dependent on an internet connection. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To have access to things that I own.
Yeah.
And when another thing too is I don't like to like something that I don't actually own. That's another thing. Talking about the games, it's like so much of buying games nowadays is, them selling you a goat and holding the rope. Because you buy the game, but for one, you're not getting the full game because they're going to release parts of the game out over time, in DLC. And also, there's so many things you can't do with this game. Like I can't, it's become so much harder to play it offline, play games offline. It's become harder to play at other people's houses, even on other consoles. I don't know if you remember when you could buy a game, put it in your system, and you didn't even have to be hooked up to the internet.
Oh yeah.
Like you could play it anytime you wanted to. And I know I'm getting way away from topic, but I'm just saying,
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do collect games, and you do see those images. Yeah.
I have a huge game collection because I like physical games. But you know what? Having a physical collection now is just, why would you? Because you can't play the game unless you're online.
I have a physical collection from my GameCube, but I can't remember the last time I plugged that in. But yeah, couch co-op time splitters was a big part of my childhood.
Well, that's what happened to me with the PS3 today. Except, and I still have my PS3. I still have my Xbox 360, and I play them from time to time. But as I told you before the stream, I had to order some batteries because my PS3 controller batteries are done.
Yeah,
they're dead. I plugged them in, and the lights didn't even come on.
But speaking of preppers, though, these things, I was gonna. Oh, the battery's dead. Oh, there you go. These things are, if it'll actually work. I think the battery's dead enough that the highlight, there it is, isn't actually working. But the red light is. But you can get these little small lumen things. You just have to keep the battery charged. But they're like $1, and you have a highlight, a low light, and a red light setting. So great for apocalyptic power outages where you need to not alert anyone to your presence in the house, but still see around.
I really need to invest in a generator or something or some stuff like that. I really do, because man, when you're without electricity, it just kind of messes everything up.
It's got to get one of those wheel turbines, and then just have your kids run on that.
Yeah, or convert one of these bicycles out here. Just take the the wheels off and just get them on there.
Yep. I'm kind of a half and half collector. I'm adopted with some like reservations because I have 400, 500 something games in my Steam library, plus Origin, plus Epic Store, whatever.
Yeah. Well, they have those sales, man, and they will.
Oh god.
They make you poor.
Yeah, it's great for like consumer entry, in that respect, because it's low hassle. You don't need to like hunt down anything rare, and the sales are absurd. But there is that concern that if the Steam servers should ever go down, there goes everything. But then also think about that, like how many of these games would I actually be that sad if they just disappeared? And that may also be like the issue with overcollecting, but my books are almost entirely physical. I do have a few ebooks, but it's usually just like small stuff that I don't really care about, just kind of something to read while I'm on, waiting for my car to get done the shop, or if I have like time to kill, just small whatever light reading to keep with me. But all my actual like books, novels, and stuff are kept physically and in giant bookshelves that I am in need of another now at this point, after just acquiring 3 more this summer. Comics are fully half and half for me at this point. I'll get I think we're talking about this, but I get my X-Men comics. I get those physically. I get those as trades or collectibles. And then also get some big events. Like I just got Death Metal. I actually managed to find a good sale for Superman Red Sun, so I got that sent out. But some of the floppies are stuff that I may not like. It's a fun read, but I'm not necessarily looking to collect it. I'll do that entirely digitally through Comixology, because it's those are the ones that if the servers ever die, I won't feel too bad about those ones.
Well, it is so convenient, to have your stuff online. It's very convenient. Like for me, having the OneDrive, because I can go from this desktop that I'm working on right now. I can go to my other computer, my other desktop, more powerful one for gaming. Yeah. And then I can have everything there available. If I go to my Surface, I'll have it on my Surface and even on my phone. Yeah. So it's really awesome, unless you don't have electricity, then you don't have an internet connection for some reason.
Yeah.
So as long as those requirements are met, it's great. But when those are not met, you're just oh well.
Well, yeah. I also use Google Drive, but I keep all my work stuff backed up there. And I have you can have a thing where you can have it'll back up some items to the hard drive of another device. So I have like my work laptop for writing out of the house or whatever, because I'm more productive if I get away from all my distractions. So I can do a little stuff or whatever in the morning or afternoon on my big computer here, and then go over to my work laptop and do that out in the park or whatever. But I usually am out in a place where I won't have internet, so I hope that I remember to leave my laptop on, and so that its Google Drive could update everything that I just did. A couple hours of work each time I log into it.
Well, another thing with I used to play ESO, which is MMO. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's Elder Scrolls Online. And man, I collected a lot of stuff in that game.
Oh yeah.
I bought stuff, I purchased stuff, and I also played the game and earned a lot of stuff. And I don't really play the game anymore, but man, the worst thing ever. And I played for like 2 years. I mean, pretty heavy for 1 year. But one thing I really, really, really hated was when the servers would go down. Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
goodness. It was because I would finally carve out some time to get to play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very hard to do. That's a very big challenge for me. Being a dad, working full-time job, and just everything that I do. And and then the servers be down or be
Mm-hmm.
playing and be right in the middle of a dungeon, or something.
Oh
And,
yeah.
Servers down. That was
Yep.
like the worst.
Yeah.
Worst.
That's yeah. Speaking of digital collections, like my main game for people familiar with my presence on the show or my own personal stream is Destiny 2, which is essentially just building a digital collection of guns and little sparrows and whatever.
I
and
almost got into that game. I
Yeah.
almost did.
it is super fun, but it is pretty grindy. It's crunchy at times, and it is a game that's all about. It's like Diablo in that it's a looter, so you're just trying to acquire more stuff and
Diablo, another that
yeah.
I have invested time and funds and
Oh yeah.
yeah.
At least like dozens I can get into because like at that point the only thing you're investing in that besides like the initial purchase price is hours. So if that goes away, that's kind of like I had fun with it anyway. But if something like in the old Magic Online system, that was an issue because you had to buy those cards. Now with Arena, you get them for free. You can buy more, but it's entirely optional and pretty much not even worth it. We can get as much just by doing quests or whatever. But like the old system where you had to buy cards, if that went away, that's an issue because then you're reducing people's monetary value, not just their
Yeah.
If it's because there's time, fun, and money. But if it's just like spending time on something, like I had fun anyway, it's fine. But it is weird because I do spend a ton of time hunting down ways to turn gods into guns or new little doodads or cosmetics for my armor that have no bearing on my real life, but they're fun.
Yeah.
So I did have to go ahead and buy myself something physically as part of Destiny, and that is the Destiny cookbook, which I'll be streaming cooking from when the expansion comes out. Actually, speaking of fun collectible stuff, I did have a friend for a 1-year anniversary on Twitch send me Saint 14 as a duck. So that is the thing where like even like my entirely digital collection in Destiny 2 being it's like literally they cannot or should not have access to giant god caliber weapons IRL.
Yeah.
The Department of Homeland Security may have some things to say about that. But the jet bikes and all that stuff, there's no way I can possibly have that IRL. So even that went ahead and got some physical collector items from that. So it is kind of interesting how I don't even know if it's like a generational thing. I want to see if there's if someone's done a study on Gen Z's collecting habits. But I feel like I've seen TikToks of Gen Zers with Gundam models or their own comics and books or whatever. So I feel like there's a psychological thing of wanting to have something tactile.
Yeah. Well, that's my thing. I like to be able to see it, display it, and touch it. And if I decide to sell it at some point, because you can't take it with you when you go, I don't have to give everybody a bunch of passwords to, hey, this
Right.
is how you get to this, you know.
Mhm.
And like I had a friend of mine talking about Magic Online. He had such an impressive collection, and he sold his collection to get, but because he got into Magic Online and he converted pretty
Mm.
much his collection, and I just thought that was crazy, because I know that he can sell and do stuff on there, but it was just it was one of the things when I was thinking about playing, because a lot of other people were playing that I was around at the time. It really turned me off of it even more, just because I just could not imagine taking my collection just so I could get a leg up in that, to sell off my stuff and replace it with digital stuff. Air,
Right.
in other
Yeah.
words, I mean, which, that sounds a little disparaging. Actually, I don't mean for it to be that, some people like it and that's good for them. But as
Mhm.
for me, I can't, I just can't bring myself to do it,
Yeah.
because it's not something I can taste, touch, hear, smell. Uh, you know,
What's the best tasting Magic card?
yeah, they do have a smell to them, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you pop a fresh pack, oh man.
Mm-hmm. That is. Well, that's the um was it the duopoly of man when you go to a pre-order event and everyone's popping open the fresh packs for the draft or whatever, and it smells
Oh
like new card, and then that phase, and it just smells like people who should have showered this morning.
yeah. Or when you buy some off of eBay and you get them and they smell like somebody has been smoking them.
Oh yeah.
Man, just like, oh my goodness.
Uh,
I used to smoke years ago, and people used to tell me that it smelled terrible, and I never knew
mm-hmm.
until I stopped smoking just how powerful that smell was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Odor is not something you want to collect.
Yeah, odor.
Yeah.
I collect odor.
Oof. Oh man, can you imagine those? Like the people who run like cologne or perfume companies, they have to collect weird smelling stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like they have to have just rooms full of like they have to have like a smelling room, I imagine, because like sommeliers have a tasting room where they have like or like the wines they're trying out to develop like their palate or like something new they want to get out. Like, do perfume people have like a smelling room where they just gotta find weird stuff that they can like distill down?
Ugh. I can't imagine. I get migraines,
Oh
and
yeah,
smell is like a real trigger for me.
yeah.
Now I'm not real super sensitive, but certain smells just, and they will put me down. Like
Mm-hmm.
I will start to get a headache, and I will not be able to shake it.
Yeah.
Just off of certain smells, and
Mhm.
like if somebody's wearing a certain kind of cologne or
Yeah,
certain kind of chemical
it's like the really sweet ones for me. Like there's got to be something in there where like the really sweet smelling ones. Those ones like just give me
yeah.
like this instant like pounding pain in my head. But like anything vinegary, I'm fine with, which is weird.
Yeah, that's me as well.
Yeah.
Like Axe.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, dude. That stuff, it gives me a headache. Like I
Hmm.
cannot, if I have to be around it very long, I just can't. I can't
Yeah.
handle it. Um, I don't know why. I actually think it smells okay,
Mm.
but it just totally fries my brain. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
Uh,
Uh, yeah. Ugh. But as far as physical collection, though, I collect figures. I collect comics, books. What else? I think that's about it.
yeah.
Depends on what I'm into. Usually, when I get into something, I will, I kind of go ham bone.
Sure.
So,
What was the collection you started first?
Probably comics. Comics was probably the first thing that I started collecting. And then when I in the 90s, Magic: The Gathering came out. And that was the first time I collected something to the point where I had a problem. Like, the playing of it, the strategy of it, all constantly trying to come up with that new deck. It was going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The gambling aspect of it, I open this pack,
Oh,
I
yeah.
could get, I could get this, I could get that. And of course your friend over here, he's like cracking packs and pulling all kinds of great stuff, and you're getting junk,
Yeah.
and you're just one more pack, to try to get something, Um, and I had at one time I had 4 full sets of dual lands, and and we're talking about way back in revised. I came into Magic when it was revised, and I had come in just after the dark. I don't know if
Okay.
you know when that was, but that was probably like the 4th set they had. They had
Mhm.
Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, and when Unlimited came out, they had Arabian Nights, and they went from Arabian Nights to Legends, and then from Legends to, I believe it was the Dark, and then they put out Revised, and then it went from Revised to Fallen Empires, and everybody was excited about Fallen Empires. It's going to be great. And then it came out and it was terrible. That's before the internet was a big deal,
Yeah.
But, now everybody knows well before, spoilers come out, and they've got a pretty good idea if something's going to be good or not. Well, Fallen Empires was terrible. I mean, it was terrible. And the next few sets after it were terrible. Ice Age wasn't too bad. They hadn't really decided where they were going to go with it yet, I think.
Yeah.
They were still they had been successful in several of those sets, and then they just got to a place where it's like they didn't know where they were going. And that's around the time when I had my daughter, and I had to start being a little bit more responsible. So I ended up selling them, and I sold them for $600, and that moved me about 120 miles to a job, and man, I've regretted it ever since, because those cards, oh my goodness, every one of them has went up so
Oh,
exponentially.
yeah. If you had a Black Lotus in there, that like.
Oh man, I was in when the Black Lotuses. I watched the Black Lotus go from $50
Mm-hmm.
to $80 to $100, and then it went from $100 all the way up to $175 and $200, and then $300, and dual lands, they stayed pretty much around $20, and now they're like ridiculous. They're I mean, I've seen them go for $150, and that's if you just got revised ones. If you got unlimited or beta, sky's the limit.
Right.
But that's that. I collected that, and I got real nuts about that. And then after that, I didn't collect anything for a long, long time. And then of course, I came back because they always come back. I came back to Magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing again, and the game had totally changed because I stopped in the 90s, and then I picked it back up just, I say recently, but around 2012.
Okay.
So it's a long time. The
Yeah.
game had changed like so much. So much. I mean,
What the heck's a Planeswalker?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And when I was playing before, everybody just played whatever they had. There was not really a big emphasis about
It wasn't like a meta.
type 1, type 2, legacy. Everything was legacy back then
Yeah.
because that's the time we were in.
Yeah. We our group kind of got into we got back into it, but we didn't want to spend like a ton of time, doing the hunt and trying to get full packs. So we got into Commander.
That
or-
was what I ended on. That's the
Yeah.
last thing I played was Commander, and it gave me that nostalgic feeling. It kind of
Mhm.
gave me the magic back.
Yeah, because you can use kind of anything. There is like a ban list, but it's unofficial.
Yeah,
And only needing one card is very nice because you don't need to buy 4 of these like $50 cards or whatever. You can just kind of find one on sale or trade for it.
yep. Love Commander. If I were to go back and play again, that's what I would play.
Yeah, it's great. Also, it gives you there's a certain level of wackiness that I like in my games, and Commander really allows for that. Yeah, speaking of wackiness, my most recent collection that I've been getting into for the last couple of years, I've been collecting books for. Books are probably my longest standing collection, like novels. Just because I'm a huge reader, so having essentially several years of backlog is very comforting to me.
Yeah.
As far as like physical collection, I don't really collect figures all that much. I do have pops, but I'm kind of selective with what I collect. So I don't have like a huge stack of pops on the wall. I just have a few that I like. So I have the Blade Runner set. I have the Star Wars Rogue One set, and I have the Villains of Warcraft set. I just need Sylvanas and Arthas. But I think they're both. Arthas is marked up now. I think you have to find them. I'm not sure if I can ever find one, but Sylvanas I might. But my main jam now for figure collection is Warhammer.
Yeah.
With my Vaporwave Stormcast Eternals.
Well, see, those are awesome because you can play with those in the game, which is awesome game.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend your time collecting them, painting them. They have a function. The problem with a lot of these things, they have no function.
Other than sit on your bench or your
they're just
case.
Display only. And this figure, I love Dr. Fate almost as much as I do Dr. Doom, but man, I love this figure all except for the wrists. Look at his wrists. It's like there's a little ball. I don't know.
Huh. Yeah. Like that's like it's articulated, but it's not.
It's really articulated, but man, it just looks strange,
Yeah.
Other than that, he's an awesome, Todd McFarlane's stuff is so detailed.
Yeah.
Anything he does is detailed.
Yeah. And that's the thing I think I really liked why I could that's my how I rationalize the cost for those in my head is the fact that it is, I spend $30 to $80 on a box or whatever. 100 in extreme cases. Do I have? I think I do have some more expensive Necron models, but I got those in other boxes, so I got them marked down actually. But I haven't got any of like the big $180 units yet. Luckily for my army and Age of Sigmar, they don't run that high. But you spend a week or so assembling and painting them, probably a little bit longer, and then each game itself runs about 2 to 3 hours. So your time investiture in there, you're getting more money or more time per dollar than you would with a movie or something like that.
Well, I have collected a few miniatures for games that I was running. And of course, having a board game, I thought, it'd be cool if I had some miniatures to represent some of the creatures and stuff that you run into. So
yeah,
I got a pretty good little miniature selection, Reaper Bones mostly, but also the Pathfinder ones, which are excellent miniatures. Very detailed. They look a lot different. Reaper Bones a lot more exaggerated.
Yeah.
But they're awesome. But the action figures though. Oh man, it started out. And I've only been actually I had a few action figures, just a couple that people had bought me, and I had seen a couple here or there, but I only had just a few. It never really got a hold of me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was just here at my desk one day, and I was like, I would love to have like my favorite characters of all time just to put on my desk here. My
Yeah.
favorite villains. So I picked out Doctor Doom. I want him. And there was awesome Doctor Doom Marvel Legend. I was like, this is the Doctor Doom. And I decided I wanted to get Darth Vader Black Series, and I wanted to get Cobra Commander because they had just put out a Cobra Commander, and I was like, man, that is so cool, and it'd all be in 6-inch. That was the plan, And whatever, I wanted to have Sauron, but nobody was doing at the time any Lord of the Rings stuff.
Mm.
There was the old Toy Biz version. So that's how it all started. And then in the getting of these characters, I ended up getting other characters, like because I would buy in bundles because I wanted to go cheap and not spend a lot of money. And so then I ended up with a Wolverine. Well, a Wolverine, I can't just have Wolverine.
Hmm.
I've got to have, if I got Wolverine, I got to have, some more of the X-Men. So then that led to other X-Men. And then the next thing I know, I'm getting the X-Men, and I'm super hard into the X-Men, and I get some bundles of those, and then getting a bundle here and there, I get a couple other characters like Spider-Man characters, which I was going to do. Eventually, well, I can't have the Spider-Man without having the Sinister Six.
Mm-hmm.
There's that group of characters, and then and it just snowballed from there.
Yep.
And it was like me and my wife were talking the other day, and I just got this Macho Man because I'm not into wrestling figures at all.
Mm-hmm.
And but I saw Macho Man, I just had to have Macho Man. And she was like, "How can you have Macho Man, not have Elizabeth?" I was like, "See, that's how they get you.
Yep.
You can't have this one without having this other."
Exactly.
I ended up getting a Elizabeth. So now I have an Elizabeth, and then this crazy thing I got on G.I. Joe. And when I got on G.I. Joe, these classified ones, I started army building the Vipers.
Mm.
And and now I've got like several Vipers, several infantry. I'm not even going to say how many. I've got 3 stormtroopers for Black Series right now, and I've got 3 more coming eventually when my pre-orders come down. And it's just snowballed. Oh, you just bleeped out a little bit there.
Oh, okay, I'm back.
Or maybe it was me.
Yeah, it's yeah.
But yeah, I never saw the action figure thing coming. And at some point, I'm going to sell them all and go to Disney World.
There you go. If you hold them on long enough, you might be able to sell them all and become part owner of Disney.
Well, let me tell you, these things are really expensive. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And like the X-Men thing, I started out not wanting to pay even retail. And then I made the mistake of a couple times to fill in some gaps, paying over retail.
Oof.
And then, anyway, there's certain X-Men you got to have, like, for instance, Sabretooth. I still don't have a Sabretooth. In all this mess, I don't have a Sabretooth because when it came down to spending $50 at the time,
mm-hmm.
It was either Mystique, like comic accurate Mystique, or Sabretooth. And I picked Mystique. Because she, at the time, I just figured, well, I'll just wait for a deal on him. He's a little bit cheaper than she is. Well, now, I got her for like 50 when she was 70, I couldn't pass it up because you just
Yeah.
can't get her for cheaper than that. But now he's like 70. So, now I'm just getting to where, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore. I am kind of getting to the point now where, you know what, I've got so much stuff now. I'm good. I
Yeah.
may never have a saber tooth, and they just brought out another one, but he's kind of like a version that I don't really care for. It's like a apocalypse storyline. I don't know if you're
Oh,
familiar
yeah.
with that one. Well, now they have a line with different characters, and he's in his apocalypse that story gear.
Okay.
I like the classic look.
Sure.
Like I collected the Fantastic Four, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. But now they've got a classic white and blue costume Fantastic Four line coming out, and I don't like to have multiples of one character, but I
Sure.
have to get them. I have to get them because they're classic. And
Yeah. That's your thing. That's your thing.
yep,
Yeah. I think also that's something that I don't like. I've noticed, but it's not as common as people may think. Is sometimes people collect do they don't necessarily set like they're out. They don't have their escape plan set, so they kind of turn into hoarders a little bit.
yep.
Yeah.
I've got guns. I'm not nearly as bad as some other people in my family.
Oh yeah.
But that's like the big thing in my family. And my dad, he would, just like we go to cons, he would go to gun shows, and that was his thing, was guns. And he could tell you, and my brother, he can tell you anything you want to know about gun companies and where the guns were used, what they were made for, who made them, all that stuff. Like yeah, pretty crazy. My dad would get guns, and he would pay a certain amount for them, and he would refurbish them. He did that with cars too. He would refurbish them and resell them for. But he didn't do it to resell them. It's just like he would refurbish it, and then people would be like, "Man, this is really awesome. I love Ford Fairlanes. I love what you did with this. How much would you want for it?"
Yeah.
So if only I had stuff that was had the resale value of my dad's stuff.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's also interesting seeing people who don't necessarily. Well, I think like true collectors are people who are actually like passionate about the subject material. But I have seen a few instances people who get into collecting just for the resale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually, either they become scalpers, or like they don't actually do as well. And I think there's an interesting bit of karma there where, being passionate about something almost kind of gives you like the insider look at what's going to be more valuable down the road.
Yeah. I think you should, pay attention to the prices of stuff or the market for stuff. But that's just not my thing. I don't buy stuff to resell it, which it is in my head. Eventually, one day, I will start selling off these. But when I do it, I'm gonna be selling them all off.
Yeah.
I am not gonna be doing it for a living or anything like that, though. Or never say never. But
Right.
I'm just saying I don't foresee that happening. Let me just say that, because a lot of times when you say, I'll never be a figure salesman,
Right.
and then the next thing you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's the way life is. But
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Let's say the only thing I put thought into maybe selling would be, picking up army boxes, painting them, and then selling them as painted. Because you can do that at a pretty decent markup. But even then, it's more so I'm rendering a service for people who don't necessarily want to go through the process of assembling and painting. They just want to play the game.
Like me.
Yeah.
That's me.
But I mean, but even then, you know, I feel like I'm very clearly, you know, passionate about the subject, and that I make my Instagram is now mostly painting content, and I'm part of a channel where they do, you know, battle reports and strategy breakdowns of the game. So, it is, you know, almost kind of interesting of like finding ways to monetize their hobby, or just to like the ways that sometimes they don't necessarily, even if you don't necessarily think about it, sometimes they just kind of interact in weird ways that are nice.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why you have so many YouTube channels of different stuff, you know, because people get to collecting stuff, or they are interested in stuff, and they figure out, you know, that is a way that you can monetize collecting it or owning it, you know,
Yeah.
is and I think that's cool. I think that's cool for people to do that. I know one guy that I watch called Nerd Zoic. He's always been a collector of toys, and now finally, after all these years, he's got his own toy store. It's an online toy store, Nerd Zoic, and he sells them on there, and he collects, and you know, now he does it for a living. You know, I feel really good for people who can, you know, change their hobby into, you know, making a living. I don't ever see being able to do that with my hobbies, but you know,
Right. That's, if that ever does happen with our comic making hobby, that'd be the dream, though.
well, you know,
Yep.
and the only reason that I'm able to do this is because just out of the love for it. Because I'm gonna tell you, I actually have, that was my dream job, was to grow up and go work for doing comic books. And when I finally did get in, I think, you know, it was after the crash. So I discovered, you know, number one, there's no money in this.
Yeah.
So that made me shy away because I had a family that I had to support, and I was too old to be paying any dues. And a lot of people, that's what they want, you know, is, well, you have to do so much of this stuff for free. And, you know, at the time, you know, I was just like, you know, I just can't see a way going forward doing this. And anyway, I ended up, you know, doing my own book and all that. And now I can honestly say that I don't really care about the monetary part of it, because I have a job. As long as I can do it in addition to my job, I love doing it. You know, now I just do it for the love of it. I don't do it because there's some big payday coming, you know. Of course, I do have to show my wife something for some of the work that I'm doing, because it takes me out of, you know, being able to do stuff a lot of times. But you know what I'm saying? Now I've kind of matured about it a little bit, and I've just kind of come at it from the standpoint, you know, I may not make much out of this, but I really enjoy doing it, and that's what I do it for now. What I'm doing this very second, if I don't make a dime out of it, number one, I am having fun doing it. It is a great escape, which is what art is. It's for fun, and I'm keeping it fun. And you know, Roland agrees with that as well. You know, whenever he gets us to do stuff, he that's important to him, and I'm glad that it is. He always wants to know if you're having fun, and if he doesn't think you're having fun with something, then he'll want to take you off of it, and I appreciate that, you know. Because he knows, you know, how it is to work a job and do all this as well, you know. So I'd say, you know, if you're making money doing comics, good for you. But you know, if you're gonna do comics, don't expect to be rolling in dough.
Exactly. That's the thing, is if you're trying to become also a professional writer, you if you're not going strictly into screenplays, you have to have a plan already to have 3 New York Times bestsellers.
Yeah.
Yeah. which maybe we could say something about the state of our reading education, but the money in publishing is not there. Despite those of us who do collect a multitude of publications and books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I just don't really see it changing either,
Mhm.
for better or worse. I think that we're just kind of, at least for now, this is where it's going to be.
Yeah.
The days that I grew up with, those are past. Who knows? Now I do say that it's a good time for independence because the big boys are just failing all over the place.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't even, I barely, I'm very selective when I do buy anything that's mainstream nowadays, just because everything is as it is. And I won't go any farther with that. But,
Yeah.
it's just not enjoyable to me anymore. But I do love to see independent stuff, and I love just what we do. I
Hmm.
love independent stuff. I love helping somebody kickstart something. The whole reason that I made the comic book that I made when I did was because there was a story that I loved, and I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it before somebody else did it.
Hmm.
And that was another thing. You gotta, if you got something that you want to do, you better get it out there,
Oh
because
yeah.
somebody will definitely beat you to it. And then when you finally do it after theirs has come out, then people will say, boy, this looks just like such and such.
Right. That's
You
the
know,
thing. I talk about this all the time. Shia LaBeouf was right. If you're trying to do something creative, you have to just do it. Like the amount of times I've talked to people who said they've wanted to write something or get into voice acting or start producing some sort of video. They'll get themselves the equipment or whatever, but they don't actually do it or do it for a period long enough to actually even turn it into like a sustainable hobby, because either they expect overnight success or they just get too gun shy about it. But I mean, you just have to like do it and keep working at it, and then
yep.
you find your purpose in it and will establish your own kind of niche in it.
Yeah. I mean, and if you can make something out of it, that's great. But I think that for me, the main thing is I'm having fun. My art is growing.
Yeah.
I mean, with every panel I do, I am adding to my skill, and
Yeah.
that's awesome. And and the thing about it is I do art for a living. It's graphic art. It's doing a lot of mascots and stuff, but there's a lot of comic influence in that, and it
Yeah.
just makes it all look better.
Hmm.
And there's that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So it's forcing me to grow. I don't have any illusions of something taking off, and
Right.
I don't do it for that. It'd be great if it does, but at the same time, I don't want to become famous either and not be able to go out of my house and have to use my millions of dollars to pay security
Yeah.
to keep people from hurting me or my family.
That's when you got to do the Billie Eilish and just get the like array of wigs and sunglasses. You can just change in and out of it. Will.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you think about that. That's got to be hard for somebody who gets famous, and then they stop getting work.
Hmm.
Then they don't have the money to afford all of the security stuff,
Yeah.
because they have to have a certain amount of the money they make to go to security.
Yeah.
Because now everybody and their brother knows who you are. You can't go to the grocery store anymore. You can't go out to eat anymore just any old time you want to. And some people do. I mean, they say, Keanu Reeves, he takes the subway.
Yeah. He's also just one of the nicest people I've ever heard of.
But that's dangerous, especially in the society we live in today. Dude, that is like that's dangerous.
Yeah, it is. But imagine anyone who's watched John Wick or seen his training videos for it, though.
Yeah, they might think twice.
Yeah. But yeah, it sounds like a good way of getting harassed by the paparazzi for sure.
Yeah, all these
Uh,
TikTok people trying to get a reaction or something, or want him to hurt them.
Right.
So they can have, so they can get famous on YouTube or TikTok.
Keanu Reeves broke my leg.
Yeah. Keanu Reeves just broke my friend's neck.
Yeah. It's it's definitely gotta be weird. It's weird. I had a class in school, talking about a kind of the how absurd it's got to be famous, because it's not a natural state for a human, because we were hunter gatherers. Is you knew your tribe and you looked out for your tribe. Having some odd million people look at you and know who you are is a relatively new phenomenon. So the amount of stressors that come with that are like, we don't even know what all comes with that amount of societal pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty good in some instances, but honestly, the trade-offs are just, to me, it's just not worth. Not saying that that I know what the formula is of just getting famous tomorrow, and I just don't do it because these trade-offs. But I'm just saying, I'm just not real crazy about getting super famous. Is all I'm saying. Because for one, all these people that are shooting for celebrity and shooting for fame. I just point you to a time when we didn't have 300, 400 channels and plus YouTube plus all these other media.
Mm-hmm.
We just had one TV and one channel, or one TV and 4 channels. People like William Shatner got world famous, not just there's so many famous people now, you don't even
It's
know
really,
who all is famous.
There's some 16-year-old kid on the internet you never heard of who has millions of people watch him opening up toy boxes.
Oh, dude, I find out about people all the time that's supposedly famous, and I've never even heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, but people, William Shatner. Let's just go back even farther. Clint Eastwood.
Oh yeah.
John Wayne. A lot of people know who these names are, but you go on back, Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like Marlon Brando and Charlie Chaplin. Those were the only movies really happening at that time.
Yeah. Now, you take their names. There's a lot of people that don't even know who they are. You ask them who Humphrey Bogart is, Clark Gable.
Yeah.
They don't even know what you're talking about. And how many years has that been? 80 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're like world famous. There was people all over the world that knew who they were.
Yeah.
And now they don't know who they are. That's what I'm saying about fame is it's kind of an illusion. Yeah, you might be famous for a little while, but it's not like you're going to be in any history books. And if you are, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's just my thinking about it. So I'm not interested in fame. I'm doing this for fun. If people enjoy it, I love it. But I have to love it first, and then if people enjoy it after that, that's just that's cherry on top.
I'd said this before, but my definition of success would be I just want some kid to find one of my books or something, or a comic, in the back corner of their school library and miss the bell because they sat down to read it.
Yep.
That's success for me.
That's a good thing to strive for, and that's an innocent thing to strive for. All this, these people doing this crazy stuff just to get their name out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of crazy stuff people do to just, for notoriety. And, and I mean, I would actually say a lot of these school shootings and everything else, is just, people addicted to the idea of fame,
It's there's a lot of we're in like a notice based society, so everything's done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The but my definition of success for collecting, I think the main reason I actually wanted to actually have like a physical collection of comics and books too is just the idea of. I mean, obviously, it'd be entirely possible, and it's very probable that when I have a child old enough to play, that at that point Steam will probably be a thing because at this point it's might be too big to fail, and so there's access to my game library. But I feel like there's something much more present there about being able to sit down with your kid and have them read your books that you like, that you enjoyed and that you put together, that you put the time and effort in to collect.
Well, that was a huge thing behind me doing the game that I did is something to give to my kids and something they could play and enjoy, and even these comics that I do, I like to share them with people. So yeah, there's that whole aspect. As far as my collection goes, passing that down, I'm not going to put that on them because they won't even know what the prices of these things are. I mean, they won't care. I've got figures that are, that I bought that were really low at the time, and now they're very expensive. That will change. They will not be that.
Mm-hmm.
They won't be worth that much in years to come.
Yeah, there is a cresting to a lot of, especially media-based collectible items.
Yeah. There's a time limit on a lot of this stuff. For instance, like the old '60s and '70s Joes. They used to sell those things for like $400 a piece, and then all the people that collected them started getting old, and they started dying out. And they just there's a lot of people that aren't around that care or have that nostalgic feeling for them anymore, and so the price of them has gone down. And I would just say, if you look at Toy Biz figures today of Marvel characters, they're not worth as much because they just simply because Hasbro got it and they turned out a better product. So
yeah,
if you have the Toy Biz version of Sabretooth, he's not worth nearly as much as the Marvel Legends, version, because the Marvel Legends version is just so good.
Yeah.
So there's that, and now they're making it where they're pinless figures. I don't know if you've seen that, but they're now going into a phase now where you won't be seeing any more pins in the elbows and the knees. So, they're improving all the time.
Absolutely. All right, well, this has been our talk on collectibles and a whole bunch of other stuff along the way.
Yes, fame and fortune.
And used cars.
And used car salesman. Fast talking used car salesman.
Yes. And all this to say, if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch later, in the comments, let us know what you think about these DC NFTs. Have you got yours? Do you think it's cool? I'm still standing on it's neat.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where when you I got the digital art book for the Command & Conquer. I got the Command & Conquer Anniversary Edition, so I got the digital soundtrack, digital art book. And I'm like, all right, it's neat. It's not it's nothing great. It's just, but I feel like that's where NFTs are going to kind of, especially from bigger companies, are going to fall into, is oh, it's neat. But I think like we were talking about earlier, the real staying power would be as used for almost like intellectual property protection for independent artists.
Before we go, I'm going to go ahead and show what I've been doing here. And also, I was working on some of these pages before, and people only saw bits and pieces. I'd like to just show a couple bits and pieces of the finished works of those. But this is the
cool.
page that I've been doing tonight that is not finished, but it is very close. It's getting there.
Yeah.
It's getting very close. But last week I was working on this one
Yes.
a little bit, and I'll just go through it quick so that you don't get to see it before you get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working on this one a few episodes ago too. So those who follow the stream, there you go.
Yes.
And I won't show you anymore because you have to get the book. You have to help us out by getting into the Kickstarter and helping us out there.
Exactly. Like I said, you can go to silverlinecomics.com and pre-save our Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaign so that you're notified the second they go live and get your pre-order placed. Like I said in a blog post, get yourself a copy, get yourself a floppy and a copy. So that way you can enjoy it and also gift it to some of your family members.
Yeah, guys. Yeah. I mean, we enjoy making these things. We love it. We love sharing it. And if there wasn't printing cost and time costs, I mean, we'd love to just share it freely.
Mm-hmm.
If you like it, like we like it, help us out, support it.
Yes.
It'd be great. I know that you're going to love this. I know you're going to love the Christmas special. There's so many different stories in this. You're going to get to see snippets of titles that are upcoming that nobody has seen yet. You're going to get to see Christmas specials of titles you may have already supported and you liked, like Trops has got a Christmas special in there.
Divinity, Demon Sales, if you're a classic Silverline fan.
Oh, yeah. Cat and Mouse, I believe.
Yep, absolutely. So
Wolf Hunter, an upcoming title.
Yes.
Night Rise, another Christmas special that I worked on and finished.
I believe
it's
also
going to be in there. You get to get a kind of a taste of what is to come. Of course, it's going to be a lot brighter in the Christmas special, but although I would say the Wolf Hunter is not really that much brighter, but
I mean,
it's awesome.
Yeah, it is. You're saving Christmas, but it is. And also, even if you don't celebrate Christmas, if you're from a different practice, Wolf Hunter features a story about shooting Nazis. That no matter who are you can appreciate that.
Maybe yeah, exactly. You'll see no elves in this in Wolf Hunter.
Yeah,
but maybe I should hide one in the in the patina of the church, of the or maybe in the rubble of some explosion.
Who was it? Wasn't there some artist who used to hide? I think wasn't Miller who used to hide characters he worked on in like his other stories. So
I don't remember. I don't know if you remember. Todd McFarlane used to hide a spider.
Yeah,
like when he was doing the Spider-Man covers.
Yeah,
he would always hide a spider somewhere in there, and he would make. Sometimes he'd make them obvious, but he would have one that was hidden really well.
Yeah,
I always thought that was cool.
So, if you spot any elves in our Christmas special, make sure to tweet at us or tag us on Instagram.
Yes, yeah. You've given me an idea now, Tim.
All right, it'd be great. I love it. So we have been That Tuesday Show. We have our social medias scrolling at the bottom now because we can do that now. Yeah. Like I said, I've been Tim TK, your host, writer, and creator of Wolf Hunter, as well as associate editor at Silverline, and joined as always by Quentin Bedwell.
Yes. Yep, I've enjoyed it. Again, you can find me on the Facebooks and the Instagrammers and the DeviantArts. Relic Quest on GameCrafter.com for my board game. I also have another game coming up on there if I can ever get done with the Silverline stuff, which will be 2000 never. But I have a cool. I'll give you an example really quick of the kind of story that is behind the card game. Hold on.
Okay.
a promotional piece that I crafted.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's dope.
yeah. So whenever I go around to cons and stuff, oh, boom,
Oh
baby.
wow.
Yeah. So got me a helmet here. I've also got some other pieces of armor that I've crafted. This is another thing that I like to do when I have time. But that's the thing, is time, right?
Right.
But this thing is awesome. I love it. But anyway, that
Uh,
is some stuff that I'm working on. So
When I get samples back, I'll have to send you some of the new untitled as of yet or unannounced book. It's very much titled. It's like we talk about like concept books. This thing is like hard concept. Everything's locked in.
let me
But-
just say too, Tim, I am so excited because I've done this. I'm doing this Christmas special. I am so excited about Wolf Hunter because it is everything that I love. My dad loved history. He made me a lover of history. I taught history. I love World War II, all that. I mean, I just enjoy it. It's right in my wheelhouse. I've never drawn World War II stuff until now, or period stuff other than fantasy, sci-fi. And I've just really, really enjoyed it. I've loved the opportunity to be a part of it. I cannot wait to read this book. I cannot wait to see this book. Everything about it is just awesome to me. So I just wanted to, pat on the back to you. Great thing you've done here. I really love it. I really have a lot of positive feelings about what's coming with this.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, and I think I say this like every time you share something with me, but I've just been constantly blown away just with each update. It's seeing your work on this is just it's better than how I envisioned it. It's insane to me.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad my art style is added to it and not taken away. Because
It's perfect. Yeah. I think like before you like officially joined us, we got some samples back, and I think I pretty much like shouted at Roland like, yes, yes. Yeah. But I'll have to send you some. Speaking of cool armor, when I get samples back on the new book, I'll have to send you some pages on that because that is, if you're an armor nerd, it's going to be something. All right, so we have been That Tuesday Show. Make sure to follow us everywhere. Quentin, you can follow him for just sick art updates and following this. Follow me for mostly painting because posting about writing is actually kind of boring. I do it sometimes, but mostly I share painting stuff because it's something unique. So we will see you next week. Make sure to stop in Wednesday for Wednesday Wham and Sunday for Silver Sunday. But until that time, remember to
make mine
Silverline.
Silverline, yeah.
We can never get the timing on that.
I know it never can. That's all right.
All right. Catch you later, guys.